read about the Boba Fett episode? Have any thoughts on that or no?
No, I know he's back. And then I know that
Disney announced that Book of Boba Fett will be a separate series running separately from The Mandalorian. People were afraid that it was going to be season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Season 3, yeah.
That Din would go off and we wouldn't see him in season 3, but now they've said, yeah, these are going to be 2 separate entities. So they end with that teaser, which did you get to watch the teaser yet?
So I know exactly what happens. Does Bib Fortuna look like Bib Fortuna?
He does, but there's 200 more pounds of Bib Fortuna sitting on the throne. So
okay. It's really interesting to me where we're at. I don't want these things to replace the theatrical experience, but I think this has been a long time coming. You started seeing this with like Sopranos. Television is just so ideally designed to be able to give you long stories. Like so many people were clamoring for a Boba Fett show. And when The Mandalorian was first announced, is this going to be like a Boba Fett, isn't it? Because there was always that, did he die in the Sarlacc pit? And then in the expanded universe, he didn't. But then Disney threw all that stuff out, so whatever. But how brilliant. If you had opened a show with Boba Fett, there's so many high standards and things that, so many fans have been wronged that you have to get right. And what they've done is they created this whole other show in this world, and then it's like the backdoor pilot into the Boba Fett thing. So I can really see that being a new avenue where we don't need a Star Wars movie every 3 years or something like that, because this is how you'll keep the fan base. But I think this could be the thing.
Yeah, to what you're saying, I don't know that I need anything else at this point, because many of the other series had been running 13 to 16 episodes or so, whereas this Mandalorian being 8 episodes, each at about 30 to 40 minutes with the story to tell. Sure, there's some fat that could be trimmed. There's some side stories I don't need to know about. But a lot of the development that's happening, I don't know that I need to go back to a theater. It's obviously possible that I could enjoy an experience and a story that to be told. But as The Mandalorian's played out, I've found a substitute for the theatrical experience for myself. I think for getting those feelings, like what we were talking about with the end of season 2 there and where this is potentially heading.
Which again, and I just think that this goes to this thing I said before about like the nostalgia and giving the fans what they want. In a movie, we get Easter eggs.
Sure.
In a long format like this, you get Easter eggs that may pay off, like the hints of Luke, and then you bring back Luke. So I just feel like storytelling-wise, they have a lot more potential in this kind of format. And I don't know what they're going to do with Boba Fett. I think they've earned enough goodwill. People wanted to see that character before they wanted to see The Mandalorian. They just wanted to see that character back. And that had been talked about for ages. I mean, I know you know that. They were talking about like a Boba Fett TV series. You need the right person at the helm. I don't care if it's a man, woman. I don't care who it is. But you need the right person at the helm. And you need that person to get it. And Jon Favreau gets it.
All credit to George Lucas, because Dave Filoni really was his protege in every sense of trying to carry on Star Wars. And it's really a shame that he wasn't more heavily involved in some of the other projects that they were doing. But I think the feedback from what Favreau's doing and Dave Filoni are both doing together now just shows that they at least should be the stewards of the license and property, should be the Kevin Feige's of the Star Wars universe. I don't think anything should be produced without consulting them. I don't have a problem with Lucas even having some say somewhat into what's going on. I really don't. He didn't have help with the prequels that he probably could have used. I think by having Irvin Kershner and Richard Marquand direct the other films, it wasn't just Lucas steering the ship.
I agree. I agree. Not to interrupt you, I agree. As far as I'm concerned, George Lucas arguably makes a better producer than he does director, and certainly not a great writer. And so my only thing to George Lucas is, like, if you want to bring George Lucas back in some capacity, my only caveat on that is then exactly what you just said. You need some check and balance. I'm sure these shows are not cheap to create, but that's very different than saying, like, we've put $250 million into a movie, and if it doesn't open at $300 million, we've already lost money. And you don't know if people are going to pay money to go see a Boba Fett movie, but they got Disney Plus, and they will watch 8 episodes of it there. I think that's
That's something too, though, that you can't discount as far as the merchandising goes. I've heard a lot of criticism over the actual look and design of the current version of Boba Fett. You need to give the character a slightly different look so that you could sell a whole new slot of things, and I'm cool with it.
Not to beat it to death, that's my whole point, is like, think about all the positive things you got. So they made a change.
Oh,
You know
sure.
what I mean? It's like that balance. It's finding that balance where it's like, we're going to make some changes, but we're giving you so much more. Like you said, there's still going to be critics. You know, people are, oh, why isn't he in the same armor? That's what you're arguing about. You just got this character back that could have been dead in the Sarlacc pit, and you would have never gotten him because Disney threw out all of that backstory.
People were upset of the way that he acted in the episodes up till now because he was so action oriented. You didn't see him do hardly anything in the original trilogy. They finally started to flesh out the character now. This is what I've been waiting for since I got that all the way Boba Fett back in 1980 that didn't fire the missile that I wanted to, and now they're firing the missile in the show. So it's not going to be for everyone, but for me, it's some good stuff right now. So,
well, that's what you're talking about. That's the hard part of the nostalgia, is they want what they perceived, you know, this thing that's going to like make them kids again. Like, but to your point, go watch episodes 5 and 6. How much screen time does this guy have? There's not a lot of story there. So to your point, like, great, now you're getting some backstory. Now you're getting things filled in. Like, it doesn't all have to be whatever. People just going to gripe sometimes.
No, but like you said, the nostalgia factor. So many people have fond memories of the character design and having that little figure from when they were a kid.
Yes.
So that now that you have, again, to sell more figures, retro Kenner figure. They have all these different figures that are just that are painted using the old figure colors just to tap into that. And again, Disney, by changing character designs, they can sell all this stuff, and they sure do make it back in the licensing and merchandising.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
As you were talking, the different directors and all, it did remind me that Robert Rodriguez is now going to be producing the Boba Fett show also. So he's joining Filoni and Favreau in this takeover in that series, because he did the major episode where Boba Fett came back. Again, I just thought that episode was great.
That feels right.
I'm a huge fan of Desperado. It's an awesome picture, and that Western whole thing fits perfectly for the Boba Fett character. I think will really lend itself to this series, and Robert Rodriguez's involvement. That's some of his best work was in that genre.
I think Robert Rodriguez is a great choice, because I think Robert Rodriguez is plugged into that fan base, and he is going to respect it. And the things he likes in other films or in genres like will translate well. So that feels right to me, because I think of like Sin City, his reverence for the material and then translating it into this film format. Again, as long as there's other creative forces involved. To your point, like with a Jon Favreau or these other people, like as long as there's other voices in the room, that feels good to me that Robert Rodriguez is going to take over Boba Fett. That feels right.